Finally, the Naga are summoning Azshara. That's right. Azshara's return has been predicted for a while now in these World Soul Saga. I mean, the last time we saw her, N'Zoth wrapped his tentacles around her, pulled her into the darkness, and away she went, right? And then we go on to kill N'Zoth. Well, where's Azshara? Where's she at? What's going on here? We're seeing hints that N'Zoth might return, actually. We saw the dagger from Xal'atath recently reappear in the cutscene after we kill the end boss there. And then we saw, again, a model maybe showing itself of N'Zoth. So with N'Zoth's potential return, what does that mean for Azshara? We know her Naga are still sitting around looking for her. Could she be coming back? Well, it seems like the Teller of 1,000 Truths, Doran, believes he will. Here it goes. Finally it begins. Azshara's return. Let's see what this is all about.
Looks like it's finally time for Queen Azshara to return. Everything has led to this. As you may know, we got the prophecy that said the Queen will return after the War Within stuff is over, and when Xal'atath completes the awakening, it will finally happen. Now, Xal'atath, as you may know, has reached the core of Azeroth through the Darkwell, and it is about to happen. At the same time, in the new patch, we just discovered yet another Naga faction, but these Naga are not actually working with the Void, but they're taking their power, and they're gathering a suspicious amount of energy for some sort of an event that they're talking.
I told you, man, they're up to something. These Naga, they're not just random NPC kills. There's a reason these guys are showing up around all the Void shit. Now, maybe their plan is to bring back Azshara through the Void. I have no idea. And even the one behind me right here, it's holding a Void weapon. Thing has a Void weapon sheathed to her hip. So, yeah, they're getting all voidy. Maybe it's to bring the, Azshara back.
And they're gathering a suspicious amount of energy for some sort of an event that they're talking about, which is likely the return of Queen Azshara. We also know the Naga have recently split into multiple factions, so they're all working on the summoning, and some are working against it, and better yet, is Azshara coming back as a new villain, an independent one,
Naga
or
allied
just
race.
another. Looks like it's finally time.
Oh god, I just fucking reset the video. Hold on. It's right. We were right here, I think. Yeah, maybe.
Villain, an independent one, or just another servant of the Void and Xal'atath. Let's look at everything that we know.
Yes, that was.
Did you just catch that? That was Orgear, saving you time even with ads. If you use my code TANSKIP, you'll get 10% of the best WoW coaching, saving you time. Use code TANSKIP for every single order.
Wow.
So,
okay,
as you may know, the speculation has been going around for a couple of years now, by pretty much since the start of Dragonflight. Like, we got this document that literally predicted everything that happened ever since. It's like a blueprint for the past 3 expansions, or the next 3 expansions since Dragonflight.
A Song of the Depths. Yeah, if you don't know, this was a basic, almost like a manifesto of the Naga, talking about Azshara, bringing her back, all this other shit, the rise of the Naga once again. So we found this document. What expansion did we find this thing in? Was it the end of Dragonflight, maybe? Maybe. But we did find this document here, and yeah, it's laid out essentially a lot of the events that have occurred, so we can assume that it's pretty correct in some of the stuff that it's saying. Scott, it was Dragonflight, yeah.
3 expansions since Dragonflight. It talked about Xal'atath.
I could have just waited for him to say it, I guess.
Flesh, while the Naga go to the Dragon Isle.
I didn't pre-watch the video, so I didn't know he was about to say it. Had I pre-watched, I would have known that, right? Yeah, fuck you guys.
We talked about Xal'atath talking to a primal power that wants to end the Titans, which is obviously Redicron. We talked about the Hunger, which was Galakron, then about the Dark Heart left broken, which is what Xal'atath took and now already used it. The thing is though, these 3 chapters already happened in the prophecy. The 4th one is the final one that also happened, which means that here the return is finally happening. It says that when everything comes to pass, the Harbinger will fulfill the prophecy and complete the awakening. Only then shall our queen return to reign over the sea, sky, and earth. We must make ready. We talked in the first bit how Azshara is calling beyond the Void Veil, and she has transcended the Circle of Stars, and that she is ready to come any moment now. Now, this last moment is literally exactly what we can expect to happen in Midnight Finale. As you guys may already know, while we cleansed the Darkwell, Xal'atath actually completed her plan, and this was confirmed by dialogue that happened after this Elven reunion. He told us that while we cleansed the Sunwell, she literally used the ley line connection of the Sunwell to channel her entire army directly into the core of the world, which I'm guessing is now the part where the fulfilling of the final prophecy will happen and completing the awakening, which is what the final bit says, which, by the way, confirms that Azshara is going to come then, which I'm like 99% certain is going to happen in midnight.
So whatever the awakening is, whatever Xal'atath is trying to do, he's relating it to the awakening that was mentioned for Azshara's return. So whenever Xal'atath's plan is, probably some kind of like voidy shit going on. And if Azshara's like stuck in the void or something, it makes sense that if, Xal'atath brings the void and opens it in Azeroth somehow, that Azshara can return through that same portal that Xal'atath's going to go in from. Maybe.
Here are the two reasons. I mean, we data mine Azot's model, which, as you may know, is technically the creator of the Naga and intrinsically tied to Queen Azshara. And second is that in 12.0.5, we discovered a whole bunch of Naga storylines, questlines, and NPCs that further confirms this. So let me just show you the current evidence that we have for this happening. So if you guys follow my channel, I actually talked about this a while back, because even in the Midnight Alpha, we had discovered Naga settlements in Quotalas, like these Naga camps.
Is it one of the ritual sites, like all Naga themed? I think so.
Which I personally expected to play an even bigger role due to the Elven reunion, which ended up being not all that interesting, but we now have context for what is going on internally with the Naga, and it is quite interesting. As we know, the Naga are technically elves, and while they're Old God affiliated, it's not like these guys are Old God fanatics. I mean, N'Zoth kind of tricked them and gave them the choice either to drown or to become Old God servants, and it's not like they really had much of a choice in that moment. I mean, we had hints even back in
if you think about it, Azshara is very similar to Xal'atath in that, her goal was just survival. That's all she wanted to do was live, even at the cost of her own people, whatever it is. Power and survival really are what she's always been after. So immortality, living longer, like the whole reason why the Naga exist, as he mentioned just now, was they were drowning. N'Zoth comes to them and says, hey, you can either die right now or become my servants, and I'll transform you so you can survive right now. And Azshara took survival. Her people didn't choose. She chose for them. So there's some, maybe Xal'atath and Azshara would get along. I don't know if they'd be on the same team. The rumor is that Azshara is going to be on our side, but I think they would see eye to eye on a lot of things.
That Azshara was not exactly loyal to N'Zoth, and as you may know, she is now in the Void Veil, and Xal'atath is currently the Void Leader. Previously, she talked about not working with intermediaries, which kind of indicates that she may be aligned with Xal'atath now directly. Now, back at the War Within, we've already learned a few very interesting...
Maybe the whole reason why she turned on N'Zoth towards the end was because she was talking to Xal'atath. That's an interesting thought. What about in this cinematic when she's talking to the water, right? And she's kind of reflecting on herself and all this shit. Maybe she was talking to Xal'atath in this room. That would be an interesting twist, that she's known about Xal'atath this entire time, and that was why she was looking to betray N'Zoth and everything.
Be aligned with Xal'atath now
that could work.
Directly. Now, back at the War Within, we've already learned a few very interesting things for this event. First, the Naga within Azeroth fought between themselves and apparently created multiple factions in the absence of the Queen, which indicates that they're splintered, but we still don't know if they're all loyal to Azshara. What we do know is that when the Siren Isle was discovered on the orders of Queen Azshara, the Dark-Tide Naga were sent to claim the Singing Crystal, which is related to Belladara, which is very likely going to be relevant soon as well. She didn't really want that as like a random trinket, but probably because they already know what these crystals are, and they're going to be really useful later down the line. Now, in Quotalas, yet another mission is here, but this one is very intriguing. These deep lurk Naga that are led by Narjira, that you might actually remember from Cataclysm and Vashir. Narjira was a Naziar battle maiden, but was later crowned as the champion of Azshara. She fought the Qualdir that attacked the Naga deep within the seas, and the report that we managed to obtain is actually very juicy. So what we discovered in Quotalas is that these Naga are actually working against the Void, and they're ciphering their power in these new ritual sites, and they seem to be harvesting energy for currently an unknown purpose. The discovered report states that Narjira offered her Naga to the Endeavors in Eversong. The Dark Tide apparently didn't cooperate. It says that when the Concord of Tides is called, we must be the first to answer. Very mysterious and such, but I'm guessing the Concord of Tides is probably going to be related to the big summoning event where Queen Azshara finally returns. I mean, literally everything is foreshadowing to this event, but it is incredibly interesting, like, what is even actually going on here? I mean, are these Naga actually loyal to Queen Azshara and they're doing something, or are they working for an entirely different faction, maybe even against Queen Azshara? As you may know, we've learned...
If I had to guess, I'd say they're working for her. They're trying to use the Void in some way to bring her back or something.
The War Within, as I mentioned, that the Naga gets splintered. I'm guessing some are no longer following the Old Gods or Queen Azshara in the Void, and this could realistically even lead to a friendly Naga faction, because the Naga are not always villains, as we had learned back in Warcraft 3. A lot of things change since the War of the Ancients and the Sundering when they accept this new form.
Right.
However, if these Naga are working for Azshara, why are they working against the Void? And if they're working against her, it would also kind of make sense. So let's just think about this. Based on the fact that the questline later confirms that they're obtaining an insane amount of arcane energy, these dudes literally just came here to Vault of House to farm mana. It really kind of seems to lead to one thing, and that is probably the end of the prophecy.
I mean, they are elves, so harvesting energy, or being like energy dependent or starving for energy, that's just part of their thing. We all know that elves are all like crackheads deep down inside. They all just love to siphon off energy. The ones who do it the least are the night elves, but they basically have their moon goddess and their moon wells and all that other shit. They do it too, just to a lesser extent. They try to, stay more in touch with nature and shit.
Finally, that
These guys, I mean, yeah, they're just totally about siphoning energy from everything they can. It's a typical elven trope in WoW.
long-awaited return of Queen Azshara. As you can see, the prophecy stated that in the moment when Xal'atath completes the awakening, Queen Azshara is going to return to Azeroth to rule over everything. It will be interesting to see what happens here exactly. Honestly, I don't know if this entire years of foreshadowing is only for a...
Also, one really interesting thing that starts to make a little bit of sense, right? The last time we had like a real underwater zone in WoW, I mean, what the hell was it WoD? Did we go under? We had the whole underwater zone, right? And the whole thing about being underwater was it was bad. All right, it didn't work out very well. Nobody really likes it being underwater. Blizzard just introduced that whole fishing event in this expansion. Kata, yeah, Kata. That's right. Kata was when we went underwater. They introduced that whole new fishing event with a new combat style underwater and shit, where the health of the fish shows, and you got to hit it a certain amount of times. Interesting new underwater mechanics. Is it related to maybe some patch where we do a little bit of underwater shit? Maybe they're testing some underwater mechanics? Maybe. Because I could imagine, Azshara comes back. We got some underwater shit to deal with, possibly. So, we'll see. Maybe this whole game is just a testing thing. It wouldn't be the first time Blizzard does that. Vajir, yeah, that was the underwater zone. Yeah, people didn't really like it that much.
Azshara to return as the final boss of Midnight and a single patch villain. I don't know if that is really that great of a deal, but honestly, I do think it is kind of a very likely scenario at this point in time. I just don't think it is realistic that Azshara is going to return as this giant new storyline where she just does her own thing. I mean, currently there just isn't enough room with the Titan focus and how deep we are in the World Soul Saga and the last Titan for her to come back and have a huge storyline. The only scenario I could see her being saved for after the World Soul Saga is if she comes back and then just retreats back into the sea with her Naga, the story ends on a cliffhanger. This I can definitely see as a realistic scenario. On the other hand, lore-wise, it doesn't actually make much sense for Azshara to just be a random servant and yet another lieutenant of Xal'atath.
Yeah, I don't think she would. She's too smart for that.
Ruled pretty much all of Azeroth through the Night Elven Empire. She was at one point the most powerful being on Azeroth. The only reason she ever served in Zot was because she had no other choice. But if there is one thing Azshara is known for, that is arrogance. And arrogance doesn't exactly, go hand in hand with serving other people. I don't think Azshara's master plan was just to switch Nazot for Xal'atath, unless Xal'atath gives her an insane amount of power. So even in the independent scenario, I could see a possibility of Azshara.
That's one thing Xal'atath does. She does offer power, and Azshara loves herself some power. I mean, she just did it with Sal Hadar. Literally before you kick off that fight in the raid, she gives him a bunch of power, and he's like, "Oh, this is too much. I'm gonna fucking bust everywhere." And she's like, "Well, too bad, bitch. You asked for more power. Now take it." And then you end up killing him, and he basically falls apart from all the power that he had. That's the entire fight. That's what's happening to him, is he's basically unable to control the power. That's why he has those radiating moments where he shoots out the beams and shit. He's literally unable to control it. So Xal'atath, I mean, she did the same thing with the Nerubians, right? Offered them power and then just abandoned them afterwards. So yeah, could be an Azshara thing. Although I'd like to think Azshara is a bit smarter than the other people I just mentioned. She's ruled for much longer. She's obviously an elf. She's lived for a very long time. So I don't know if she would get duped so easily by Xal'atath.
Or just like retreating back into the sea. I think that would honestly be the best case scenario, since we also have the Arati humans that are potentially on the other side of Azeroth, and later we could have like a sea-based expansion. I think it just wouldn't be a great idea, as Queen Azshara is like one of the most iconic characters of the Warcraft universe, to just end up as a single patch villain and be over with. But honestly, I can't say that I don't expect that to happen either. Thank you for watching. Check out the Denetrius is also finally foreshadowed to return by clicking on the screen, and subscribe to my brand new Witcher lore channel by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.
Nice video overall from Doran. You know, not like crazy in terms of speculation. I think a lot of us think that Azshara is going to come back, and a lot of his points were well founded. It goes with her personality, it goes with a lot of things, and it goes with all the Naga shit that's going on in the game right now. We'll see when. I would say not if it happens, but when it ends up happening. Azshara's return, I think, is pretty much guaranteed. Nice video overall from Doran.